So how would you like to deal 24 damage on turn 5 in Standard with just 3 cards? Well, you can. My good friend Drifter posed a simple idea to me one pre-release's eve. Hey, God Eternal Eketra and Cavalier of Flame deal 24 damage on turn 5 with Fires of Invention. So how does that work? Well, we first play Fires of Invention on turn 4, do whatever. Turn 5, we play our God Eternal Eketra, we play our Cavalier of Flame, which creates a zombie token, activate our Cavalier of Flame twice, and swing for 5 plus 5 plus 8 plus 6, 24 damage. That's going to kill anyone who doesn't have a blocker ready. And from this, quite literally, the fires were lit up as we worked on his first draft of the deck and ended up with something quite similar to this, a few cards notwithstanding. You've seen Fires decks before, no doubt. It's a pretty busted card, effectively doubling, or in this deck often tripling, your effective mana, in exchange for regretting to play a half-zone speed. A few cards changed between that night and today, most notably the addition of Kenrith, but the deck has performed pretty solidly since day one, earning me second place at England's first paper WMCQ, rarely losing at FLM, and causing many concessions on Arena if they can find the button fast enough. So why play this deck? This deck shares some similarities with several other Fires decks, most notably the excellent Fae of Wishes package. While other Fires decks may be able to make explosive plays, no other Fires deck packs the immediate punch that this deck does. You can go from just a Fires of Invention on board on turn 4 to literally winning the game next turn. Most Fires decks lean away from creatures, and it's also a nice change of pace to have power and toughness around if that's your kind of thing. Throw down a Deputy of Detention or a Fae of Wishes, and the ways to win multiplied, just having 1 extra power with 3 Cavalier activations, for example, is 4 damage. With both Kenrith and Cavalier, we have 6 ways to give our teams haste at a moment's notice. While Sarkhan the Masterless has a decent impression of burst damage to Jeskai and Grixis Fires, you still have to have a board state and untap. This deck is always just ready to swing for 20 at a moment's notice, which can make it scary to play against and sometimes feel downright dirty. When your opponent is confident the game is all but won, then bam, 24 damage, you're dead. And even if you don't OTK, a Ketra plus any creature or playing some haste cards and attacking not the lethal is still a very, very powerful swing that can set your opponents too far behind to have any hopes of recovering. So what exactly is this deck trying to do each turn, and what cards let us achieve that? This deck has an ideal play each turn, which is vaguely as follows. Turn 1, play a tap land. We've run a lot of them, so it's good to get that out of the way quick. Turn 2, filter your mana or prepare a defense. We can cast a Fae of Wishes against anything looking to attack us, as its 1/4 body is enough to block most early game threats, and it can always be bounced later if needed. Human Possibility is a necessary evil but a strong one, enabling us to set up a defense for turn 3 or find a turn 4 fires if we don't have one yet. On turn 3, we're looking to interact. Main deck, we have 11 cards at 3 mana to do this depending on the situation. Deafening Clarion is key against early aggro starts, and we can use the life gain with a turn 2 Fae of Wishes that doesn't die to 3 damage, or later in the game to enable massive life swings with our 5 drops. Deputy Detention is ready to answer any problematic permanent at any point in the game, and thanks to Oko's ban, his natural predator in Wicked Wolf shouldn't see as much play, making him that much better. Having a Deputy out when you'd like to cast Clarion is awkward, but it offers enough to be worth the risk. And Teferi is, well, Teferi. Draws us closer to Fires of Invention or combo pieces, disrupts our opponent, and the only thing better than swinging for 24 on turn 5 is doing so with Teferi out, giving you the confidence the opponent can't do anything to stop you. And best of all, you don't really care if Deputy or Teferi die most of the time. If your opponent has to expend mana killing them or attack a Teferi, that just means we're that much more alive going into turn 4. On turn 4, we're looking to cast Fires of Invention. Our deck struggles to do this as consistently as other builds without the digging power of Narset, hence the 4 Shimmers. But with these cards and Teferi's draw power, it isn't altogether uncommon. It lets us get ready for potential 14 mana spend next turn, which is absurd. But for turn 4, after casting Fires, we can look to either stabilise or find a win condition depending on how turn 3 went. Drawn from Dreams is our best follow-up play, gaining card advantage and digging deep into the deck, but granted is also a strong follow-up. Often enough though, you'll just need to have a free drop to stabilise for turn 5, because once turn 5 hits, it's time to set up for the win next turn or even just win this turn outright. Maybe we found God Eternal Eketra and Cavalier of Flames, cleared their board and win this turn, but most likely further setup will be required. Sometimes we will cast Granted and whatever tutored for instead, or Eketra and another creature to establish a large board presence. Now that Oko's out of the way, Playing a Ketcher without haste gets a lot better. A Ketcher did one of the worst elk impressions in Standard otherwise. We can also play Cavalier to filter our draws and prepare for future turns, and always remember to loot. When you're playing over 20 power of haste in a turn, it's easy to forget this, but it can make all the difference. And his death ability rarely comes up, but ditching a few lands in case never hurts. Just remember you might need land number 6 for granted, but after that lands don't really do much. Alternatively, Kendriff the Return King can be good enough by itself to stabilise many situations. Either it or Cavalier's haste can often kill a Planeswalker, and in Kendriff's case, drawing a card against control is a strong use of our mana. Or even better, against aggro, you can gain 5 life immediately and threaten to gain 10 life next turn, which is often enough to win a game. Even without the green and black abilities, he's still an absolute house. Then by turn 6 we're really hoping to win the game. Of course it'll come later sometimes. With a good draw, it's hard not to have an overwhelming advantage by this point. Either granted for a busted 6-drop and take over the game, slam 2 further haste creatures to attack, or just play Kendriff and gain 10 life. Obviously, Magic never plays out the same way every single game, but this is what we're aiming for. And when we can't win, we can often use Fae of Wishes to find something impactful to cast instead. The Scry lands also interfere with this plan coming in tapped, but they're necessary for the mana, so adjust the plan as necessary. Generally, turn 3 and 4 is when we need untapped lands most. Turns 1, 2 and 5, you can deal with having a tap land. The mana base is pretty standard, it lets you catch your spells, but Free Castle Vantress has a fantastic synergy with Fires of Invention. As we run out of gas, it's essentially a free activation, so we can still cast 2 spells after using our mana for this. And if your Ketcher dies, you can scry 2 in upkeep to put them both to the bottom and draw a Ketcher right away. So when we have a Vantress out, a Ketcher kind of never dies, which is fantastic. As for the sideboard, with Fae of Wishes, this falls into 2 camps. We have the sideboard for regular sideboarding, and a wishboard of cards we can't actually cast without Fires of Invention, but finding them with Fae makes them worth it because they're so powerful and game-changing. We have Command the Dreadhorde, which, honestly, at times this feels like a Dreadhorde deck. When Plan A doesn't work and all your combo pieces hit the bin, you can wish for this and bring them all back, and sometimes even your opponent's creatures. I feel like there's not been an event or a day of playing this deck where I haven't won with Command the Dreadhorde. It lets you play so many cards in one turn, getting around Fire Zone restriction. Next up is Casualties of War, which is essential in the mirror and capable of switching most situations entirely into your favour. The most I've got is a 4-for-1, but I aim to live the dream. It can also act as a catch-all answer to any permanent in a pitch, even if you don't get all the value from it, and stopping a Planeswalker ultimating and destroying a land is never going to be too bad. Also, destroying Fires of Invention in the mirror is crucial, and whoever does it first is probably going to win. A card exclusively for the creature variant is Shared Summons. Nothing instills fear in an opponent like you casting this and finding a Ketcher Cavalier for next turn. They know you have 24 damage ready. Or you can find Deputy for removal, you can find Fae to wish for more wishes. Even with only 5 creatures in the deck, it's very flexible. They're all fantastic targets. Sometimes you just need to gain life, make a body, and kill something, and Enter the God Eternals does this perfectly. We can even mill ourselves to get a few damage with our Cavalier of Flames. Plus, the token will often have haste. Sometimes you just need to stabilize, and this is the card to pick. Nothing else really does it quite like this. And sometimes you just need a card that wins the game by itself. Nicol Bolas can come down turn 5 after Fires, kill a big threat, and then threaten to just win the game by himself. Time Wipe. We can technically cast this, meaning in a pinch you could tutor for it turn 4 and cast turn 5 even without Fires, but mostly we just want to leave this in the sideboard. 4 copies is a lot better than 1 for this type of effect. As for the actual sideboard, it's going to depend a lot on your meta and what you're seeing, especially going into this crazy new world without Oko. But I've enjoyed an anti-colour package so far, with 3 Aether Gust dealing with Nissas and Gruul Embercleaves alike, 2 Devout Decree removing pesky red and black threats early game, and 2 Mystical Disputes can help protect your Fires of Invention from Fort Erasures or counterspells. Just remember, if you wait until turn 5 to cast Fires with your Mystical Dispute, that counters both your spells for the turn. Other than that, I have another Drawn from Dreams, as it's our best dig option. If we haven't found a Fires and we have infinite time, we can turn 4 Granted, turn 5 Drawns, and turn 6 hopefully play our Fires. Chandra's another powerful Planeswalker we can either side in or tutor for, depending on what we need in the matchup. If you're playing best of 1, or you're looking for some other spicy options, consider playing a Cleansing, Planewide Celebration, A-Shock Dreamrender, Dovin's Veto, and maybe a land like Overgrown Tomb or Castle Vantress as an extra copy to find. So why wouldn't you play this deck? While this deck is a blast, it has 3 main flaws to consider before you put the effort into getting it that I have to let you know. First, while it is the most explosive deck with Fires out, it can feel like the worst version when you don't draw it. Sarkhan and Nicol Bolas are fine cards by themselves if you need to cast them the old-fashioned way, but running out in a Ketcher or a Cavalier of Flame on turn 5 feels dubious at best. And When I said it's explosive, it's literally explosive. It can have a massive turn or two and just win the game outright, but as a result, it's left without the raw card advantage that the Planeswalker versions of Fires have. And the third downside is, well, if you like playing at instant speed. Between Fires and Teferi, the game becomes just sorcery-based. And here's a few niche interactions to be aware of when playing the deck. Remember Unborn Ego. If you play against any blue-black deck, or a Fires deck which might be sideboarding it, consider sideboarding out one copy of Fires Invention, games 2 and 3, so if they do cast Unborn Ego, you could still play Granted, find that Fires, and continue with your main game plan. Teferi can back your own Fires of Invention on a crucial turn, letting you skip the 2 spells to turn rule and play as much as you can. Time Wipe works really well with Fae of Wishes and Deputy of Detention. With a bit of time, we can Granted for Time Wipe, play Fae, then Time Wipe and return the Fae, essentially giving us a board wipe for free. And if there's a creature under the Deputy of Detention, it will return to the battlefield before the Time Wipe fully resolves after you bounce the Deputy of Detention, which can get around the awkwardness of needing to wipe the board with a Deputy out. And that about does it. If you want to tear up your local game store with something different or invoke many of the modes on Arena, this could be the deck for you. If you enjoyed the video, consider a like, a subscribe, or maybe even sign your soul away to me. I think that's what Patreon's for. I do have one patron now, so thank you for supporting my video, and you're a cool dude. But that's all for this time. I hope you enjoyed the deck. I hope it's, if you see it on Arena or in real life, you might be a bit more prepared for it, if nothing else, or you might decide to pick it up, and it feels disgusting